All right, well, let's take a look at the meetings that happened this week. We had a solid waste committee. We had a health safety properties committee. I attended these two. Did not attend the animal shelter meeting. Also did go to the opioid board meeting, which ran an hour and a half. I had to leave that early and go to the planning commission meeting. So I have audio for the first hour and a half. After this was over, I did go back to the opioid board. I did not upload the recording, but did catch a little bit more of that. And then went to the industrial board meeting, which they no-showed. So would like to find out who is responsible for keeping the calendar up to date. And I also need to get some contact information so I don't show up to that in the future. I'm not sure that they meet very consistently. So let's go over what we learned this week. Now, all of this information is being uploaded to a GitHub repository, and you can go into these folders and see the source files. So if I go into, for example, the opioid settlement folder, you're going to find one called the date and then opioid settlement.yaml. In that file, you're going to get some information like the title and then my notes. Now these are my own notes. I'm just jotting things down as I'm writing. So take those with a big grain of salt if you happen to look at those, but those aren't published anywhere else. You have to go into this file for that. And then there's the transcript, and the transcript is generated from audio recording from AI. So there's probably errors in that. And then what's published on a website is this outline, and this is an AI created outline. So there's mistakes in it. You're just going to have to assume there's mistakes, but you can always go out to the full audio link. I click that, that will take me to my YouTube channel, and there'll be the full audio recording of the meeting, or in this case, an hour and a half. But we're going to go ahead and look at the website, and this is what you can look at right here. I'll be posting all this content here. So let's just start with the first meeting, which was the solid waste. So we'll go in here to the solid waste meeting, and let's see. Talk about revenues and stuff. And I think I did talk to them. There's 70,000 square feet or square meters, square yards, I think square yards of space currently available. They gave tonnage reports. I think the most interesting part or two interesting parts to this meeting was, one, they mentioned the Waste to Jobs Act, which I'll talk about at the end of the video here, but this is not something I think we should support. I'm not sure if it's going to be coming up on the the upcoming Tennessee legislature docket, but if so, we need to probably say no to this. Goes into current collections. They're going to be trying to get some of this old debt back by sending out some letters to people that owe more than $1,000 and slowly coming down. One of the ideas I think we should probably do there is probably have a Jubilee thing or something. I don't know if we want to call it Jubilee because you're not forgive the debt, but if you pay, say, half the debt, you'll forgive the debt at some point. Otherwise, I don't know if this money is ever going to be collected. And a resident did show up who missed a bill, and they have a good billing history, so forgiven of that. And I think that is, I talked about a break-in that happened last year, kind of interesting. So I think the interesting thing here is the Waste to Jobs Act, and we'll talk about that at the end. So again, if you want to go see the full audio of that, you just click that, and there is the solid waste full audio, 33 minutes. You click more, you can get the YouTube created transcript. This isn't necessarily the same transcript I use. Sometimes I use this, sometimes I create my own transcript. Did I just lose that? Hang on a second. Okay. So the next meeting was health, safety, and properties. EMA report came in. Radios are going to be going out to some of the departments. That's something that is needed. Better communications can be pretty poor here in Hickman County in places. There's an EMS report. But the big news here is they want to replace the current cardiac monitors. They're 10 years old. The CPR devices also, I know from stories I've heard, are not very reliable. They don't like them as much as the newer type with the plunger system. I think these things are important, but it's a lot of money, $550,000 to replace those. We got a couple different financing options, either lease them or a loan. So they're going to be looking at this. We got some new canines. There's going to be 4 dogs in the community. There's a little update on the Pinewood Emergency Station, and some other stuff talked about. And if you want to go look at this, you can just look at that. But we're going to come back to this at the end also, this purchase. Okay. Next up, we have the opioid board. Okay. So this went really long, and a lot of this was about some of the organizations that took money in the past are having to either earn back the money they took or what they call like kind, or have a repayment just because the money wasn't necessarily spent in accordance with the guidelines of the program, and there's probably a lot of miscommunication going on different sides. But the thing that they're talking about doing is hiring somebody called a navigator. So this would, as far as I can tell, be a full-time position, and this person would help distribute the funds. I think there's probably about $200,000 in the fund right now. Some of the money that was given out last year was returned. And this is something that, the truth is like if you had $100,000 and you paid someone $50,000, which probably going to pay more than that, but let's say you pay someone $50,000 to distribute the other $50,000. The truth is it would probably, that other $50,000, there's a chance that it would get distributed in a better way than the whole $100,000 if it's given out in these block grants. The problem is it's not a full-time position. There's no way that this takes somebody that many hours to figure out how to give out money. Just not something that is a full-time position and is therefore kind of wasteful. So we'll come back to that at the end. And then finally, the last meeting was the planning commission. So in the planning commission, talked about a Fairview police range going in. It looks like that is probably going through and happening. There was a rezoning request to change something commercial. It's going to be a country store. I think that was approved. There's a rezoning request to change something from ag to commercial to get a dealer's license out in Prim Springs. This was not approved. And I think I agree with the reasoning. If you change something to commercial, it's always commercial. So it could be anything in the future. There is some kind of thing called a type 2 exception that you can get, but you've got to have a building in the right location. So there might be some work that could be done to get that type 2 type 2 permit. I'm not sure. I've got to learn a little bit more about that. So anyway, the thing here is there's some procedural change in that type 2. It looks like the building commissioner or I think Austin would be in charge of making that decision in the future, and then it could be appealed to the board. But in general, that has something to do with the appellate board or Tennessee Code annotated changes. So something to look into there. And finally, we'll get to 2 items. One is the Guide to Tennessee Waste Jobs Act. So this is something that was mentioned in the solid waste meeting, saying, if we supported it, we would get money. But this basically looks like, in my mind, a government boondoggle to basically establish these producer responsibility organizations, which are basically people that are going to get to collect a lot of money, force everybody to be a member of, and then they redistribute the money. They say that, small counties are voluntary. Of course, what they really want is the small counties to support the program so they can get it passed at the state level. It would only apply to the big cities and big counties. but of course, eventually it would be forced back upon us. It looks like they suggest that there's no cost to the citizen. Of course, the cost is going to be given to us when we go buy products. So there's a good video out there by the sponsor of this that I'd like to perhaps go through. It's only 6 minutes long, but I had a lot more than 6 minutes of things to say about it. This is reasoning that I would not support the bill. Again, I had AI help produce this, but I largely agree with everything here. And so I definitely think we need to find out if this has got any chance of passing. If so, we need to make sure our county and maybe our surrounding counties, we make some phone calls and are that's on board. And the only other thing I don't have here, but my idea for the cardiac monitors and opioid settlement would be that we do not hire a navigator. That we hold those funds. I think we can hold the funds up to 2 years, and we can require an extension so we don't have to distribute them. We can just hold them and wait for something better to come along. If from what I can see, we can potentially justify the cardiac monitors. Obviously, we can't buy all of them, but we could probably buy half of them or a third of them anyway that we want, 2 or 3 of them, using opioid money and the grant money. And that, in my mind, would be a much better spend of that opioid money. Now, the justifications there, all kinds of justifications, but you've got increased runs due to opioid and painkiller issues. You've got bills that don't get collected. You've got all kinds of things. You've got reasons for having better equipment because you can treat the patients more consistently and get them to the hospital alive and things like this. So lots of good reasoning, but obviously some work has to be done. So that would be something that I would recommend. I have sent some letters out with the plans, kind of draft plans on that, and I'm going to be following up next week at these budget and finance committees and suggesting that this is a better use of the funds and we need to move in this direction. Now, one thing you will find out if you go to these meetings is a lot of people are on the same boards here. So when you talk at this board, they already know what you're going to say. But there's always a few new people. So that's what we're doing next week. And again, I'll be publishing all of this stuff here. You can listen to the audio yourself if you're interested. You can see the outlines. And if you go to the GitHub repository, you can actually go look at the transcripts. And we'll be adding more information in the future. So that's the weekly update. Thanks.